Question 34, compare. Now, when it says compare and there's this empty box here, what we need to figure out is are the two fractions equal? If they are, we will put an equal sign in the box. If the left-hand side fraction bigger, so is the 4/12 bigger, we'll put a greater than sign pointing towards the left-hand side. A bit like a crocodile's mouth. The crocodile's hungry. So because he's hungry, he turns and faces the bigger thing with his mouth wide open. So this sign would show that the left-hand side was bigger. If we think that the right-hand side is bigger, we would open the crocodile's mouth facing towards the other side instead, towards the quarter. Now, what we definitely can't do is just say that 4 and 12 are both bigger than 1 and 4, therefore 4/12 is bigger. We need a common denominator. That might be right, but also it might not be right because that's not how fractions work. So we need a common denominator. Now, if the denominator on this one is 12, the denominator on this one, we need to also make that into a 12, so it's a fair comparison. So to get from 4 to 12, we are timesing by 3, and then we will also have to do exactly the same to the top number, times by 3. So you're timesing the bottom number by 3, times the top number by 3 as well, to give you an equivalent fraction. So 1 times 3 is actually 3. So once you've got your equivalent fraction, this is saying that 1/4 is equivalent to 3/12. You can cross out the original fraction and now just look at the equivalent fraction that you've made. So 1/4 has become 3/12, and now it's a fair comparison. So 4/12, is that bigger than 3/12? Well, of course it is. It's like 4 of anything is bigger than 3 of that same thing. So the unit we're talking about is now 12s. So it's like 4 apples will be bigger than 3 apples. So 4/12 is bigger than 3/12, as long as you're talking about the same unit. The same unit is another way of saying that they've got a common denominator. So 4/12 is bigger than 3/12. So you put your crocodile's mouth facing towards the 4/12. Just before we move on, though, you've got to be really careful with this. As I said before, just because the 4 and 12 are bigger, it doesn't always mean that the crocodile's mouth, the inequality sign, wouldn't face that way. So if we had 4/12 and 1/3, we would have got a different symbol, because 1/3 in 12ths, from 3 to 12 is times 4. So you times the 1 by 4, 1 times 4 is 4. So 1/3 is actually 4/12. And that's the same as this 4/12. So had it been a third instead, we wouldn't be putting this symbol in. We'd be putting an equal sign in if that was a third instead.